As a brother, man, brother named Chad, I like the brother. He's a tradesman, but he's an intellectual. But this brother's been going on a terrible rant about Dr. King. He's probably going to put this up on a clip, and I hope you do. He's very much against Marxism and communism, but he's taking some low blows to me in talking about Dr. King. And I say, I wonder who's funding my brother. He's a black man. Mm-hmm. And the reason I say that is because you can talk about Dr. King being a alleged pervert, having orgies, things of that nature, having multiple women. But we aren't talking about our founding fathers as sex traffickers. And if you're going to criticize Dr. King and you don't find time to criticize the so many white men that founded our country, then that tells me that somebody's paying you to do what you're doing. And although I support your ability, your right to do that, I'm saying that we got to play the game fair, Bubba. And we got to say, oftentimes, great men fall short of the glory of God.
So Killer Mike brings up some very interesting points. I'll attempt to address them here and now. First of all, I do actually judge the Founding Fathers, but I judge them primarily on their ideas, much the same as I judge King, primarily based on his ideas. Yes, I have mentioned the philandering and the orgies and the cocaine that King was involved in, but I spend very little time focusing on that. I spend more time focusing on his ideas. I don't agree with all of the Founding Fathers. Some had great ideas, in my opinion, about what kind of country America should be, men like Patrick Henry and Robert Yates and others did not. I could talk about that extensively if anyone's interested, although it's been my experience that most people aren't. But when you look at the ideas of Martin Luther King, it's clear that he was a Marxist. And those ideas have done more harm to black Americans than good.
When talking about have black people done better, we keep doing better and we keep getting knocked down. So I'm going to tell people, this is your homework. Trying to convince you. I want you to go home tonight. I want you to listen to Thomas Sowell.
Killer Mike is a reader. I know that he's read Thomas Sowell, and so naturally he knows about the upward trajectory, the upward mobility that blacks were experiencing in this country in terms of home ownership, family formation, in terms of entrepreneurship, all before the civil rights movement. Killer Mike knows this not only from a literary or a scholarly perspective, he also knows it from a personal perspective, because he talks all the time about his own lineage, his own family who accrued houses and land and were doing well for themselves. And so my challenge to Killer Mike and everyone else for that matter is to ask the question, what really did we benefit from the civil rights movement? When you consider the fact that 3 out of 4 black children were growing up in 2-parent households before the civil rights movement, black America, by and large, were a productive, entrepreneurial, family-oriented, church-going people, only to after the civil rights movement, we are now in a position where 70+% of black children are growing up in single parent households or are just outright being aborted. The crime, the frivolousness, and all the other pathology that makes up so-called black culture, it becomes glaringly obvious that we traded the real, genuine, tangible progress for a symbol. And that symbol, of course, is Martin Luther King Jr. And I don't know about you, I'd rather have real progress than symbols. The blueprint laid forth by that symbol is a cruel departure from where black Americans were. The blueprint that Martin Luther King laid forth was one of agitation, picketing, relying not on your hands and your limbs and the mind that God gave you to make your way in this world, but depending on government action and legislation to accommodate you. That's not how I want to live. And when you look at the communities and large cities who do think that way, those places aren't doing so great. I think Killer Mike is on point when he's advocating for entrepreneurship and trades and family formation, education, and all the rest. But you actually serve a counterproductive function when in the same breath you praise the symbolic figures whose blueprint and rhetoric actually debilitates and restricts those good values for which you're advocating.